In this video, I'll show you the basics of building a rubric in Blackboard and how to add it to assignments, journals, and discussion boards. All right, let's start building a rubric. So here I am in my demonstration course. And to build a rubric, we want to go under Course Management to Course Tools. All right, so click Course Tools to expand the menu like that and go down to Rubrics. And here we have some rubrics, okay? So we've got this e-learning discussion board rubric already created. You can do a couple things with an already existing rubric. You can click it and export it if you want to put it in a new course. So let's say you have the same discussion board rubric for all of your courses and it's all participation based and you are building a new course. You can click export and have it move to your new course. You can open it to see what students see. So here's a complete rubric. That has the breakdown for the posts, the categories, the criteria, and how they're being assessed. And this is what students see. These boxes will be highlighted based on what you choose when you create the rubric. Let's close out of that. We can also edit a rubric. So if we see something off as we assign something, we can go and into each of these boxes or points and make the assessment or make the change. If a rubric is active, if it is an assignment that students have already submitted on, you will not be able to change it. But what you can do, I'm going to click cancel, is create a copy. So edit, copy, and it'll automatically create a copy. And then you can go into that copy, make that change. All right. So maybe it was just a typo in the points, or maybe you want to change your points, or maybe it's something as simple as the rubric said APA and you're actually teaching MLA formatting. You can go and edit it, and then you would have to remove the old rubric from future assignments and then reattach it. All right. Another thing is if you have a rubric from another course, you can also click import rubric and browse local files. If someone has given you a rubric zip file, so you can do a couple different things. But for our demonstration, we're going to create one. So I'm going to create, and this is for a 3-2-1 reflection. And a 3-2-1, students are asked to give 3 ideas from the lessons, think 3 things they learned, 2 examples of how they've used it in a graded activity or even the whole week or throughout the course. It just depends on how your course is set up. And one thing they're unclear of, that's called a muddy point. And what we can do is take each of these stages and create our criteria. So this is the default template that we're given. And basically, all of this is customizable, so we can adjust it. I would still say sometimes I see online rubrics in grid form, not programmed, that are very complex. For Blackboard's purposes, I would say keep it as simple as possible. So you can play with different settings. For this particular one, I'm going to show you how to use the option of points range. So you can do no points. That's a little odd. Specific points. So let's say they get a 5 for this, they get a 10 for this, and it automatically adds it up. Or a point range or percent range. I like to work with point range because that gives me a little bit of customization on, how well they did in that stage. And also sometimes you will have like 2 or 3 points on a particular level of proficiency. And yeah, they did really well on one, but not really so that's kind of why I like point range. So the first thing I'll do is set it to how I want it being calculated. Then the next thing I'll do is change the criteria. So I'm going to go ahead and I can delete one. Let's say you only need 2 things. That's fine too. Or you can change the names. So let's click edit, and we're going to start this one with 3 ideas. For this purpose, we're just going to use the 3 stages of this rubric. 2 examples. And edit 1 point. All right. But you know what? I'm going to hit save. And you know what? I think I wanted that grammar thing in. If you need more than 3 criteria, you just add a row. So we've got our new row. Edit. And let's do grammar. Okay. All right, so now we have 4 here. Now, here we have novice, competent, and proficient. So we start out at the low end and build our way up. So I'm not crazy about the phrase novice, so I'm going to change that to needs improvement. All right, save. And then I'm going to work my way up to fair. And you can name these all you want, whatever you'd like. I would say is try to use some positive words. So like instead of below expectations, needs improvement, slightly more optimistic. Can use good. And then, oh, I don't want to end on good. So let's add a column and do excellent. Okay. And if you see this happening, it's just based on the display of your computer. So we have a scroll bar. Oh, there we go. All right. So now we have our criteria and we have our levels of achievement. The next step is to put the text in here. So I will usually write everything out on Word first, get my ideas there and maybe use some grammar and spell check. All right. So this way I just copy and paste. I'm also used to writing in Word more than these little text forms. So I'm going to go ahead and put some text in. Oh, so much for spell check there, right? All right, so I'm going to put some text in here and here. Okay, so our next stage is I would usually do all the text at once, but to save some time and sanity of you guys watching me just copying and pasting text, we're going to jump ahead and I'll show you what the whole thing looks like. So next thing we're going to do is put your points in. So we have excellent, and I'm going to make this, let's see, 30 to 40. And then we go from, let's see, that would be 29 to, let's do 20 and 20. Let's do 10. And now we'll give them 20. All right. And then we've got 19 to 10, and then 9 to 0. All right. I'm going to pause there, and magically you're going to see a full rubric in just a second. All right, there we are. Full rubric. Everything's has points, has categories, has text, and now everything adds up to 100. I'm going to go ahead and submit. If the numbers don't work out right, so let's say you get your range mixed up, don't worry, it'll definitely tell you. So now you have a rubric for this reflection journal, and you can open it, see how it looks. All right, everything's fine. And there we go. All right, so the next step that we're going to do, and you can attach the same rubric to multiple assignments. So let's say I deploy 4 3-2-1 reflections throughout the course. I can add this rubric, the single rubric, to all 4 of them because it's just being used in that assignment. So it's kind of like copying it into that particular assessment. You do not have to make multiple copies depending on how many assignments you have. So the next thing we do is, now that we have it, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to attach it to a journal. Now, you can create the rubrics first. You can create the assignments first. It doesn't matter in the end. You just have to, before it's deployed, make the connection between the two. So I'm going to go ahead and click my learning modules, and I'm going to go into module 4. I don't have anything there yet. And I'm going to go and build a journal. So we have tools, journals. And here, if I have a couple journals already made, it would show up here, but I don't. So we're just going to create a new one. Okay. 3, 2, 1, reflection journal number 1. All right. And let's go ahead and copy our instructions for our journal. The following. You may want to be a little more detailed than this, but this way we kind of get things in there for demonstration purposes. All right, I'm going to add some bullet points because I like bullet points. All right, journal availability. Yes, we would put availability if we need to. I usually click off monthly or weekly, excuse me, and then grading. Here's the important part. Grading possible points set to 100, so I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to put the due date. Let's give them till next Friday. All right. Let's give them to the end of the day. End of the day is 11:59. But here's the important part. Add rubric. Select rubric. So I'm going to add my 321 rubric. And do I forget what was in there? Oh, there we go. Yep, that's the one I want. And hit submit. Okay. And then it's going to give you a little pop-up say, you sure you want the points to match? Yes, because your rubric has to match the possible points. If it doesn't, it will automatically adjust this to whatever points. And then you have the option of show rubric to students. I say, why not? This way they know the tiers that they use. That being said, I wouldn't use the selection of our grid, of our rubric, alone as assessment and feedback. So this can show how you came up with the grade, but you still want to add some personalized feedback with that. So don't just click off on a rubric and you're done. Add a little note with it so it's that personal touch. So now we have our journal created and we have a rubric attached. Let's go ahead and hit submit. Yep, let's do that. All right. And then we are creating, now we've created the journal. Now we're creating the link to the journal. So I'm going to type those instructions that we had before in there. All right. So remember, journals, similar to tests and discussion boards, have two parts to them. There's the actual tool, and then there's the link to them in your course. So you always have to have both of them in order for students to access it. Or you can have a tool link on your menu, like here, discussion board. You can do the same thing for journals as well. All right, yes, let's go ahead and display it. So we go ahead and display. And then here we have our journal. Let's click into it. There you go. All right. I'm going to pause for a moment, and then I'm going to come back and show you how to grade using this rubric. Okay, so let's go and grade our journal. So we go down to course management and down to grade center, needs grading. You can also go through the journal tool, but most people will go through needs grading for, well, grading stuff. I'm going to click the submission part. And then here we see, oh, I didn't write so much. Maybe not the best journal, but we're going to show you how it's going to look when we use the rubric. So let's click this blue link and we have this drop down that shows us the area. So fair, and it shows us the range of points. All right. So, I mean, technically that definitely needs improvement. 2 examples. Let's go needs improvement for that one. Let me give me 1 point. Muddy point. Clearly I've got a lot of muddy points. So we're going to go 10 points there. And then grammar. I spelled journal entry right. So we're good. And then we'll see that the raw total adds everything up for you. Now, there may be some reason if you feel that a student excelled in some other point that wasn't part of the rubric, and you're like, well, they really did great on this aspect. I want to give them more points. You can still adjust it here. So either this number or this number will actually go into the grade center. So at this point, I'm going to say no. I wrote 2 words. I definitely need a 40. Save rubric. All right. And then I would add a note for grading here, and then I would hit submit. Okay. And now it has been graded with the rubric. So now that you have the basic idea of how to build a rubric, attach one to a journal, and attach one and grade it, I'm going to show you how to do that with an assignment and a discussion board as well. So I'm going to click module 4. And I'm going to create an assignment, and we'll call it research paper. We're going to add our instructions. You definitely want to add more than that whenever building an assignment, maybe even attach an assignment sheet. And once again, we'll give them till next week to do it. Give next Friday, end of day. And then here we have our possible points 100. And here again, we have add rubric. Now you're also going to see create new rubric or create from existing. So you do have those other 2 options. What I usually suggest is just build the rubrics out one thing at a time. But both are completely fine options. I'm going to go back in, select the rubric, and if I wanted to remember which one I wanted to use, I can click this, pop it out, and it'll show. And then 3, 2, 1 reflection selected. All right, and it's going to give us, all right, 3, 2, 1. Do we want to use the same points? Yes, they match. They're both 100. And yes, we want to show them that. You can continue on with your grading submissions. Always use safe assign, 2 attempts. Okay. There we go. All right, and hit submit. So now we have an assignment that has a rubric attached to it. When you go in and grade for an assignment using a rubric, it's going to look exactly the same as the journal. The look and the style and the process of grading with a rubric does not really change on any of these different assessments. So next is a discussion board. Let's go ahead and click discussion board. Okay, we're going to create a basic forum. So example forum, instructions. When you build discussion forums, always include the prompt, but also include all those requirements that you may have for your discussion boards. So yes, it may be written in the syllabus, it may be written in 3 other places, but each week our students have got a lot going on. They got a lot going on in their head. So remind them, your initial discussion post is due Friday. Your discussion post is 300 words. Because remember, that's not something that's consistent across all the classes. So I may require 400. Another instructor may require 200. Another instructor may require 3 replies. Another one will ask for 2. It all depends on the topic and how much that assessment and activity is invested in the discussion board. So even though it's posted, always post it with your forms, just as a reminder of which class they're in and what they need to do. So we're going to go with standard view because this is really about rubrics and not discussion boards. Let's go ahead and put 100. And once again, we've got the due date. They're going to be very busy next Friday. All right, end of day. Once again, add rubric. Now we already had the discussion board rubric built, so we don't have to build a new one. I'm going to take a look to make sure that's the one I want. Yep, we're good. Hit submit. And it's going to ask us, do we want it to match points? And yes, we do, because it already does. And let's show it. So now we have our discussion forum. I'm going to copy the instructions because discussion forums are 2 parts. They're the forums and the link to the forum. And I want the text to be consistent. Okay, example forum, next. And then now we have the instructions because we're building that link piece. Now we don't have to talk about rubrics on the link because the rubric is attached to the forum. Go ahead, hit submit. So now we have a forum that has a discussion rubric already attached to it. All right. So, and once again, once you go into grading for the discussion board, it's going to look exactly the same as I showed you with the journal. It's going to have a link to drop down and you click off the points for a rubric and the system will add it up. You can decide if you want to override, underride it, even if you want, depending on the work, and then add some comments in addition to just clicking off the rubric. All right. If you have any questions about building rubrics, you can contact us at elearning@rcsj.edu. If you would like an instructional designer to help you build a rubric or one-on-one training, or you have some rubrics in mind and you would like us to build them for you, we'll be glad to do that. Just reach out, elearning@rcsj.edu. Thanks for watching.